Evolution. It's one of the most important aspects about Pokemon. For many players new and old, evolution is a highlight in their adventures. However, a thought came to me: how hard would it be to beat Pokemon Fire Red without ever seeing the evolution screen once? This is the Everstone Challenge. The rules are simple. Whatever stage my Pokemon is currently in, I cannot evolve it past that stage. However, if I catch an evolved Pokemon, I'm allowed to use it. I just can't evolve it past its current state. No duplicate species allowed, like 2 Pidgeys. I can catch a Pidgeotto. And of course, no cheats or glitches, besides giving myself Everstones. And of course, to keep it a challenge and prevent myself from finding everything I want, I'm limiting myself to only my first encounter in every area. I'm also playing on set with no items in battle, because what loser has to know what the opponent is going to send out next before switching? Definitely not me. Can I win? Watch until the end to find out. Anyway, if you enjoy my suffering and want to see more of this stuff, consider subscribing. Apparently 97.1% of you guys who watch my channel aren't subscribed. That means that in a room with 40 people, out of all of them, only about 1 of them will be subscribed. Of course, only subscribe if you enjoy the video. Alright, let's do this. So when choosing my starter, I immediately take Bulbasaur out of the question because it's easily the most useless. Okay, I know. I got a handful of comments on my other video calling me out for my Bulbasaur hate. But to make it up to you guys, I'm gonna choose Bulbasaur this time. Why? Because it's actually the best choice here, as it's good against both Brock and Misty. So right after getting Pokeballs, I immediately searched around the first few routes to get 2 things: Rattata and Pidgey. I saw a comment on my other video saying that Rattata is actually really good for the early game, and after seeing its moveset, I actually think it could be really useful for the first few badges. Next, I go for Pidgey to get a flying type, although I doubt it's gonna really be that useful. Unfortunately, I only got a Weedle in Viridian Forest, so I just skip it. Anyway, Brock, well, is Brock. I have a Bulbasaur. Enough said. On Route 3, I get a male Nidoran. Even though I can't evolve it, I think it could be pretty useful for some move coverage. Time for Rival 2, and this was a fun one. He starts with Pidgeotto, and I just use Leer several times with Nidoran since I can't really do much damage with it. After it goes down, I switch to Rattata and Quick Attack to take Pidgeotto out. Next is Rattata, and I get an unlucky Hyper Fang miss as he lowers my defense. I take almost half health and finally take Rattata out. Next is Charmander, so I switch to Pidgey to reset Rattata's defense. I try going for Sand Attack, but Charmander just takes me out. I switch back to Rattata and finally take it out. Last is Abra, but it can't fight back, so I get the easy win. Next, it's time to battle Misty, but I have Bulbasaur and Razor Leaf, so I didn't even lose a single Pokemon. I do feel like Bulbasaur might lose its usefulness soon though. On the route just north of Vermilion, I find a Meowth first try and catch it. I replace it with Rattata since while it has slightly lower attack, it has much better speed and access to Slash and Feint Attack. But I don't know, I might not even use it until then. Fast forward to Rival 3, and surprisingly, this battle was kind of close. I try to take Pidgeotto out with Meowth, but he just spams Sand Attack and takes me out. I finish him off with Nidoran, but I get one-shot by his Kadabra. I switch to Diglett, and I surprisingly don't one-shot it. I take a good chunk of damage and finally take it out. I switch into Bulbasaur for Raticate, put it to sleep, and Leech Seed it, giving Bulbasaur some much needed health for Charmeleon. Charmeleon hits hard with Ember, but I luckily put it to sleep and Leech Seed it. I switch to Diglett, and it luckily doesn't wake up, so I take it out. Surge was obviously an easy win since I have Diglett, who is immune to his electric moves and is faster than even his Raichu. On the way to Rock Tunnel, I catch a Voltorb. It's not really good, but it should offer some decent type coverage for the coming few badges. Right before Erica, I find a Growlithe. This is really huge. It's one of the best pre-evolved Pokemon I can get at this stage of the game, and it only had a 20% chance of being found here. Alright, Erica should be pretty easy now. Alright, Erica time. I go for Ember, which does quite a lot, but I unfortunately get paralyzed, which means that I'm slower now. I take Victreebel out and Tangela is next, but it's obviously an easy one-shot as it just goes for Ingrain. Last is Vileplume, and Ember is doing about a third, but she uses Acid and lowers my defense, so I go down. I send out the Drowsy that I caught in Vermilion out to take it out, and due to me having insomnia, I can't be put to sleep. I can definitely feel my unevolved team falling behind now. Luckily, very soon, I'll be getting a secret weapon that should help me immensely. Comment if you know what it is. First though, I have some more stuff to take care of. First, I gotta take Giovanni out. Bulbasaur is still only level 26, so I get outsped by Onix. I one-shot it though, and next is Rhyhorn. I get a 5% miss with Razor Leaf because, of course, it's me, and I take a big stomp. I one-shot it, and last is Kangaskhan. I expected Bulbasaur to go down in one hit, but It missed Mega Punch, so I get the Leech Seed down, and I never faint. Bulbasaur won the entire battle by itself because he just kept using Bite, a special attacking move in this generation. Man, that was like a Gen 1 play right there. So on to Rival 4, and this was just ridiculous. I crit Pidgeotto to take it out, and next is Gyarados, but Spark surprisingly doesn't one-shot it despite its 4 times weakness. Thrash does a lot, but I take it out the next turn. I switch to Growlithe for Execute and one-shot it, and then next is Kadabra. I switch into Drowsy since it has Headbutt and it has good special defense, and I have this incredibly annoying fight, missing multiple times after just one Kinesis. I swear, I have the worst luck when it comes to accuracy. I finally take it out after about a solid 5 years, and last is Charmeleon. I switch to Bulbasaur to try to put it to sleep, but it takes me out after I miss 3 times. I finish it off with Diglett. Man, I really am going to need to change this entire team soon. After getting the Pokeflute, I can finally get one of my strongest permanent team members, Snorlax. It's a Pokemon that can't evolve but has really good stats. I had a really long struggle to catch it because of its low catch rate, but this thing should end up becoming one of my best team members. After that, I immediately grabbed the Super Rod and cast it literally every single route that I haven't searched yet, which is a lot due to the amount of the map opened up now. I get a Seeking in the pond in Fuchsia City, and it's by no means a good Pokemon, but it's definitely one of the better water types we can get for a while. Right after that, I fight every single trainer that I missed. Between Erica and Koga, there's a massive level jump, which makes sense since a lot of the map is opened up to us. Unfortunately, I'm really underleveled since this is a challenge where I need to swap team members a lot. It's fine, I've got Snorlax, and at least this isn't a Nuzlocke. After about an hour, it's time to fight Koga. He really wasn't that much of a threat since Snorlax has the immunity ability which prevents him from being poisoned. I would have definitely much preferred Thick Fat since immunity is really only a help here, but oh well. Anyway, you can see me do some bad plays as I try to take Weezing out with Drowsy, then switch to Growlithe, and then finally just back to Snorlax. I think Drowsy might have to go soon too. She's just too slow and frail this late in the game. So now that I can use Surf in battle, I am going to be constructing my final team. My first new team member that I'm 100% going to get is Electabuzz. Now you're probably wondering, how can you guarantee that you'll get it on your first encounter? Well, it just so happens that in the power plant, Electabuzz can be found at higher levels than any other Pokemon. This means that all I have to do is get a Pokemon to the same level as Electabuzz's highest, then just use a Super Repel and run around. Electabuzz is a pretty solid Pokemon, and it's definitely the best electric type I can get in this run. It took way too long to get though. Oh yeah, and while I'm at it, I also killed the Zapdos just to make you guys mad. However, that's not quite the end of building my team. After defeating the Karate Master in Saffron, I get the choice between Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. I go for Hitmonlee since it has higher attack, and that's really what matters in game. Alright, with my newly powered team, let's see how Rival 5 goes. Electabuzz doesn't one-shot Pidgeot with Thunder Punch, but it just goes for Feather Dance. Next is Gyarados, but one Thunder Punch takes it out. Next is Execute, so I switch into Growlithe. I get paralyzed, but one Flame Wheel is enough. Next is Alakazam, so I take the opportunity to lower its defense, and it just keeps going for Future Sight. I don't know why. Of course, I have the worst paralysis luck, so I just switch to Snorlax to finish it. Last is Charizard, but I have the 4 times effective Rock Tomb on Snorlax to one-shot it. Alright, not bad. Right after that, this random guy gives me a free Lapras. It's a pretty bulky Pokemon, and it's got Ice-type stab too, so he should be pretty useful for Lance and Giovanni. Speaking of which, time for Giovanni number 2. Lapras is really too weak to do anything in this battle, so I just use Snorlax to take out his entire team. You know, I've actually never really used Snorlax much in any playthrough before, so it's really cool to see how useful he is here. Anyway, I don't think I really need to explain much for Sabrina. Snorlax has good special defense and good physical attack, which is the exact counter to her entire team. After clearing the Pokemon Mansion, I get my next final team member, Aerodactyl. This will be very helpful for flank and rock type coverage. Aerodactyl also has great speed, which is something that a lot of my team is lacking in. Okay, time to beat Blaine. I lead with Lapras and take out Growlithe and Ponyta with ease, but they do land Fire Blast, which deals neutral damage to me since I'm half Ice type. Next is Rapidash, and I land a Surf, but I go down due to being outsped. I switch to Hitmonlee and I outspeed and take it out. Last is Arcanine, and my finger slips and I accidentally use Bulk Up on accident instead of High Jump Kick, so I get taken out. It's fine though, since Snorlax just eats up his Fire Blasts and Leftover heals me a lot because of my high HP, so some rock tombs and body slams later, I win. Finally, we had the last Giovanni fight, and he actually posed a bit of a threat. His two Rhyhorns obviously get one shot with Surf, and out comes Nidoqueen. Because it's got decent special defense and because I'm really underleveled, Surf doesn't take it out in one hit, which means that by the time Nidoking is out, I'm in one-shot range. I send out Snorlax to take it out, and last is Dugtrio, but of course, because of its awful defense and HP, one body slam is enough to take it out. With that, I have all 8 gym badges, but before I can fight the Elite Four, I have to battle Rival 6 first. This battle was actually pretty close. He leads with Pidgeot, and I don't outspeed with Electabuzz due to him using Quick Attack, so I lose a lot of health before taking it out. I switch to Aerodactyl for Rhyhorn to get a safe switch in for Lapras and take it out with one Surf. Next is Execute, and I luckily outspeed and take it out with one Ice Beam. Next is Alakazam, so I switch to Snorlax and it just goes for Calm Mind, so Body Slam one-shots it. Next is Gyarados, and I need another safe switch in, so I sacrifice Growlithe and then take Gyarados out with one Thunder Punch. Last is Charizard, but I don't outspeed him, and Electabuzz goes down. I try for Lapras, but I lose over half of my health. Meanwhile, my Surf doesn't even do half. After losing Lapras, I go for Snorlax and finish him. So, as you saw by how close that rival fight was, I wasn't going to stand a chance against the Elite Four being so underleveled, so I just spent the rest of the day grinding up my team, notably Aerodactyl. I battled every trainer in Victory Road, as well as every remaining trainer on the map, and here are my levels. Honestly, even after all that grinding, I'm still really underleveled, but I think I should be strong enough to win. Okay, first is Lorelei. She leads with Dugong and I lead with Electabuzz. I use Light Screen to tank her serves, and I chip her down with Thunder Punch, but it does less than half, so I just use Leer and then Brick Break to take her out. Next is Cloyster, but it has bad special defense, so one Thunder Punch takes it out. Third is Slowbro, and I land one Thunder Punch before going down, and I switch into Snorlax. One Shadow Ball finishes it. Next is Lapras, and annoyingly it confuses and paralyzes me. I try to use Yawn before going down, but of course I get fully paralyzed. I send out Hitmonlee and do good damage, but it was apparently a speed tie as it outspeeds on the last turn to take me out. I finish it off with Aerodactyl, and last is Jinx, and to my surprise, even with a base 35 defense and base 50 HP, it survives Rock Slide. Aerodactyl goes down, and I use Lapras and have this really annoying fight, but I win in the end. That was pretty close. Next is Bruno, and oh my god, was this insane. I don't have relying fighting type coverage, and I'm underleveled. I try to use Bulk Up with Hitmonlee for a potential sweep, but even his Onix just does so much with Earthquake. He then uses Rock Tomb to lower my speed, so Hitmonlee can only make it past his first two Onixes, before going down to one Mach Punch. I send out Aerodactyl to Wing Attack, but his Rock Tomb lowers my speed. Not wanting to risk losing Aerodactyl, I switch to Growlithe, and it was the right call as he used Mach Punch. I go back to Aerodactyl and finish it off with one more Wing Attack. Next is Machamp, and this thing is scary. Wing Attack is only doing about a third, and I switch to Electabuzz to try to get a paralysis, but even after Thunder Punch and him using a contact move, I don't get the paralysis I need. Now, I'm really worried that I'm actually going to lose to Bruno. I switch to Lapras to try to chip it down with Psychic. I actually get pretty lucky that he missed his Cross Chop, so I do a little more damage, but I go down. I now only have Snorlax to take on two fighting type Pokemon with high physical attack. I go for Body Slam and he misses with Cross Chop again, so I get the knockout. However, last is Hitmonlee. It has bad defense, but so do I. One Brick Break takes me down to 25 HP. I go for Body Slam and it's a crit. Wow. If I didn't get that crit, I would have lost. Now, I wasn't too worried about Agatha since I have a normal type with high physical attack and a ghost type move. However, I do still need to worry about Hypnosis. Luckily, her first Gengar doesn't put me to sleep, so I take it out with ease. Next is Golbat, so I switch to Electabuzz. He uses Poison Fang, which does a lot, but I get a clutch paralysis from Static, so now I'm able to take Golbat out. Next is Arbok, and I decide to sack Electabuzz and go for Leer. I use Earthquake with Aerodactyl, but I surprisingly don't take it out, and one Iron Tail makes me faint. I take it out with Lapras, but not before getting poisoned. Knowing that Lapras is going to faint, I use Safeguard so that her second Gengar can't put Snorlax to sleep. Once Lapras goes down, I switch to Snorlax, and she really can't do much besides use Sludge Bomb, which actually still does quite a bit. Two Shadow Balls are enough to take her out though, and last is Haunter, but again it has poor defense. Fourth is Lance, and this was another intense battle. He leads with Gyarados, and I get a lucky Thunder Punch crit. I don't know if it mattered, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Next is Dragonair, so I use two Leers to lower its defense before going down, but I do paralyze it. I send out Hitmonlee, but Shed Skin heals its paralysis. Luckily, it's now confused from Outrage, so I set up 2 bulk ups while it hits itself twice. Unfortunately, it snaps out and gets into Dragon Rage before I take it out. Now, I'm just hoping that Aerodactyl doesn't one-shot me with my double defense so I can get a high jump kick in, but it unfortunately does. So at this point, I'm kinda panicking. I switch into Growlithe to lower its attack as it uses Ancient Power. I really need it to not get that 10% boost, because if it does, I lose. With its lowered attack, I send out Snorlax. Luckily, with the cycle of using Yawn and Shadow Ball, I'm able to chip it down while Leftovers passively heals me. He sends out Dragonite and I'm still not sure what to do. However, he goes for Hyper Beam. This is huge. Now I can get a free Ice Beam in with Lapras and it does over half health. Now, even with the Citrus Berry, I'm able to take it out. And at this point, I've basically won. Dragonair can't do that much damage even with Outrage to Lapras. Oh my god, I didn't expect the Elite Four to be so hard. But now is the moment of truth. Will I be able to beat the rival? Pidgeot outspeeds and goes for Sand Attack, which sucks. Luckily, I don't miss, and Thunder Punch brings him to just about half health. It's probably going to be a range. I go for Thunder Punch again, and it luckily takes him out. Second is Rhydon, so I switch to Growlithe to lower his attack and get a safe switch into Lapras. We surprisingly get outsped, but he just uses Takedown, so I get an easy one-shot, which levels up Electabuzz, and he learns Thunderbolt. Next is Exeggutor, and I get a lucky Sleep Powder miss, so I get to land a free Ice Beam. I was expecting him to one-shot me with Giga Drain, but I hang on with barely any health and land another Ice Beam. Unfortunately, even with a crit, he survived and he fully heals. I get taken out, and I try to finish him off with Aerodactyl, but I'm not really doing much with Fly. I'm surprised by how weak Aerodactyl is. I finish Exeggutor out with Shadow Ball, and next is Alakazam. He sets up Reflect, so it took several body slams to take him out, and I lose quite a lot of health in the process. He sends out Gyarados, and I really need some good luck here. I go for Yawn, and he just goes for Dragon Rage. I switch to Hitmonlee to take a potential hit, and it was the right call as he goes for Thrash. I switch to Electabuzz and set up a Light Screen before going for Thunderbolt, which sadly doesn't one-shot. I do end up getting a crit though, so now I'm on Charizard with Light Screen still up. Turns out, it didn't really matter. He used Slash, which luckily didn't crit, and activated Static. I used a few more Thunderbolts to finish him. And that's it. I beat Pokemon Fire Red without evolving anything I caught. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect the end to be so difficult, but then again, I was really underleveled, so that probably had an effect. I really enjoyed doing this challenge. It was interesting having to use some pre-evolved Pokemon for more than half of the run, and then finally being able to get some pretty solid ones towards the end. Again, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and let me know what other challenge ideas you have for future videos. And if this video does really well, I'll try this challenge again, but in another generation. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.